Good morning, everybody. This is Zach at it again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and today's a very special day. Today is my father's 80th birthday, and I'm happy to have him on the phone with me. Happy birthday, Pop. Thank you for being with me.
Oh, thank you, Zach. Love you, buddy.
Love you, too. And so happy to get to celebrate this day. I wish I could be with you in Merle's Inlet, where you are.
Yeah, very nice day here. The sun's shining. It's nice and warm. Just looking at the water and the waterfowl, enjoying the day.
Yep, well, we're having nice weather here, too. It's about 70 degrees, one of the last 70-degree days we'll have for the season. So I'm outside trying to enjoy it, but it's been a nice day here, too. But I just want to go over several things. There's a lot of things that we know and have already discussed, but things that I think are interesting for you to share with listeners. First of all, you grew up with two of the best people in the world that you could have for parents. You grew up on a farm. You talk a lot about farm living and rural living, and what do you think is some things that you learned that are most important from your parents? Because I know you certainly learned a lot from them, and they were two very different people.
I guess I learned self-sufficiency because when I was growing up on the farm, we didn't have electricity. We didn't have running water in the house. We were poor, but we didn't know it. We didn't know we were poor because we always had food on the table, and we worked hard and had a great life. It's just, my dad was a hard worker, my mother was a hard worker, and we just lived a good life on the farm. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
And so the thing about your parents is that they had very little of what would be required today as an academic education, but they were both very smart and resourceful people.
Very intelligent people. Neither one of them had high school. Back in those days, you had to walk to get there. And my mother had to walk to school over the hill about 3 miles to get to her school, and that was literally over a hill, a mountain, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, she didn't go on to school, but they were very intelligent people and very resourceful and knew how to survive. And it was just a great life. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Well, your dad, of course, my grandfather, was a World War II veteran. He saw things and was witness to things that he probably never spoke of, could never speak of. But he was a man of very few words, but when he spoke, everybody sort of paid attention. Cause he did.
Well, I did for sure.
Yeah, I know you.
I for sure did. I saw him in 1945 on this very day, October 25th, for the first time. I was 3 years old. And he was a good man, but he was tough, and I always knew that he was in charge.
And you were the oldest.
I was the oldest.
Of three.
Yes.
And the oldest, I guess more was expected of you from him. Is that so?
I guess it was just, different because, here he was, a man back from the war. He'd been in the war for years and comes home and he's got a 3-year-old son. I'm sure, he was dealing with a lot internally from the war, and it was tough, but he took it out on hard work and did great. And I admire him for what he did, and I admire him for being tough on me because he made me see the light.
Well, and
a little easier on my two brothers because he mellowed out a little bit over the years. But he was a good man.
And there's 8 years separating each one of your brothers, Mike and Doug, and everybody knows Doug. He followed your footsteps in being a police officer and went on to a very successful career on his own, and he's now the resource officer at Spiller, where his favorite great niece Bella is there, and she loves that he's there. And they're very close, and I'm glad.
Yeah, he retired after a very successful career, and he was, of course, managed the Southwest Police Academy and Bristol, training all the troopers and police officers and sheriffs in Southwest Virginia, and he really did a great job. And now he's retired and enjoying being the part-time SRO. Well, it's full-time SRO, but it's kind of a part-time job for him. But he loves it and loves being with the kids. I'm surprised he does love it as much as he does. I talked to him this weekend. He was just couldn't say enough about his job. Enjoys it.
Well, they love him there, and Bella loves him being there. That's your granddaughter and his great niece, and my little girl, and his grandchildren are there too. So that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then of course, there's my Uncle Mike, the middle brother. Unfortunately, we lost him not 9 years ago next month. And I would imagine that in your life you've had some tough things, but I don't know much that was tougher than that, because that was very sudden and very difficult for all of us to process. So I would imagine, being his older brother, that was one of the most difficult things you had to endure.
Yeah, that's about as tough as it gets. Like you said, I was 8 years older than him, and he used to follow me around on the farm where we used to play, and I taught him to throw ball, and we'd get down on a quilt in the backyard and box and play, and he was we were very close, and even got closer through the years. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to face, was losing him. Yeah.
And Mike was a wonderful guy. He was the easygoing uncle for me. He always had a very bubbly personality, and he would have me and my sister to his house for weekends, and I have a lot of wonderful memories having conversations with him over. He loved Breyers vanilla with chocolate syrup, and we've had a lot of great conversations over ice cream, and he was one heck of a great guy.
Oh yeah, he was a very successful man in industry. Did great, and was looking forward to his retirement in just a few years. But unfortunately, he was unable to get there, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. But he was a super guy, and couldn't do this without talking about him, because he was very special, and he looked just like you. Everybody thought he was you.
We did favor. He might have been a little better looking, younger, but we did look a lot alike.
Well, I remember one time telling him that you look just like my daddy did 8 years ago, and he said, "Oh Lord, I believe I'll have to have an operation." And he'd laugh. Yeah, he was very hardworking, but he had an excellent sense of humor, and always an uplifting person.
He was the best.
Yeah. So, but coming back to your parents, your daddy was the best gardener and best carpenter that anybody had ever seen. I've got a desk in there that he made for me when I was about 6 years old. That's now Bella's, and she uses it every day, and we just cherish that.
He's a very talented woodworker, and one of the best gardener I've ever seen. I miss his tomatoes.
Yep.
So bad. Good, the best tomatoes I've ever eaten, and I haven't had one that good since. But he was raised in a time where if you needed something fixed, if something broke, you had to fix it yourself. And he just he could do anything, from repair a car to make things or build things or whatever he had to do. Because that's the way he was raised. That's what he did. If something needed to be done, he had to do it.
And he whittled something, just sitting and whittling something, and made a toy out of it, didn't he? What was that?
Yeah, you have one out in your building out there. It's a little gnome-like thing that rolls on a roller. It's hard to explain, but it's a neat little thing, neat little toy, and it could carve and cut just about anything.
And then we come to Granny, who I'm a little partial to her because I was her favorite, and she certainly was mine too. The first real heartbreak in my life was when she passed away when I was just 7 years old, younger than Bella. She also passed away very suddenly.
Yeah, that was extremely hard on the family, especially my dad.
And he was never the same again after that.
No.
But she was the best cook that there ever was.
Great. Yeah. I wish I could have one of her meals right now.
Yeah, I could go for one myself, and everything
with a butterscotch pie for dessert.
Yep.
It's great.
Well, Emily makes me. That's what she makes me for my birthday now. I don't have a birthday cake. She makes me a butterscotch pie, and the reason I like that is because hers was the best, and only one that could rival hers was her sister Annie.
Yeah.
Annie could. They were best friends, and they were probably the most alike. And I adored both of them very much, as I know you did. And she made a quilt that we still use today. And I wish I had more of the quilts that she made, but the stuff that she made lasts forever.
Yeah, I've got a couple of quilts as well.
And she made it all, and you can see the World War II plane patchwork on it. You can tell how old it is because it's those old planes like they flew in World War II that was on the patch, and you can tell how old it was. But it's lasted, and it's the one that Bella covers up with every night because she says it's cool and it's not too it's not too heavy, and Granny would just love that.
Absolutely, she would.
She would think that Bella is as extraordinary as we do. So anyway, let's see. I wanted to ask you too. Following graduation, you went into the Coast Guard, and you spent 4 years there, I believe, 3 or 4.
4 years.
4 years, and you were a radio operator. And what would you say was your most memorable moments of that? Because I've done a whole book on your career, so I have your law enforcement career pretty well covered. But that's something that I didn't get to discuss much.
I'll have to say, being an old country boy, never seen the ocean before.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the ocean for the first time when I was 19 years old, going into Cape May, New Jersey for boot camp.
Was that exciting or was that scary?
Well, it was both exciting and a little scary for something totally foreign to me, like the ocean. And I went from boot camp to a ship, and I spent 2.5 years on a ship, which was not my forte, I must say, for a while, but I got used to it, and I enjoyed being at sea and enjoying just being out there.
So you had some motion sickness for a while, huh?
I did when I first began, and that's what made it so tough. But I kind of got that beat by taking Dramamine and learned to stay up with the old salts, which I did eventually, and after that, it was kind of enjoyable being out there, seeing the sea and seeing the porpoise. jump along beside us and the dolphins, and we were just amazing. Of course, we were up in the North Atlantic a lot, which was really, really rough. It was too tough to be outside. It was cold, and the sea was so rough you couldn't go topsides. You had to stay underneath. So it didn't. That was kind of tough. I was out there when President Kennedy was assassinated, and I actually took the message of his assassination that day he was killed, and I was the first one on the ship to know that, because we were the only source of communications by Morse code, and took that up and gave it to the captain.
That's a pretty amazing thing. That's always something I put in your short biography whenever I have to use one. That you relayed that message. Because me being a journalist, I think there was no more exciting time to be a journalist than when President Kennedy passed away, because there was something about being the first one on the scene to get the story. If you were the first one on the scene at something like that, you got a Pulitzer Prize. You know, you don't have that kind of journalism now.
No, you do not.
You know, and so that to me is a very tragic but very exciting time, because newspapers were the way of reaching the world in those days.
Yep. Like I said, the only communication we had out there in North Atlantic was Morse code. And do they even use Morse code anymore on the ship? I don't think so. I don't think they do.
So that's something totally outdated. I mean, that's something really special to have learned, because you don't even have to learn that now.
Yeah, well, I think, the ham operators, and they still use it some, but the military, I'm sure, does. They've moved on to more modern things.
So then you come out of the Coast Guard in 1966, and you go straight in the very next day. Your friend Bill Collins gets you on with the High Point Police Department, and you worked there for 8 years in the height of the Civil Rights Movement. You worked with one of the very first African American police officers of the High Point Police Department. That was your friend, Mr. Ben Collins.
Yes.
But I guess what I want to ask you about that is you worked for a very prolific man by the name of Chief Laurie Pritchett, who was a key figure in the Civil Rights Movement, in that he was chief at Albany, Georgia, when Martin Luther King was there, and was actually involved with an arrest with Dr. King, but was one of the few chiefs who did not use violence or brute force to move him along, him and his crusaders. But what I want to ask you, because I know you greatly admired Chief Pritchett, what was some things that he said to you personally, or things that you learned from him? Because I know you thought very much of him.
I guess I just learned how important public relations is in police work, and how important it is to just get the public involved in what you're doing. And he really did that, and he involved the African American community, which probably saved us.
Right.
Time. I mean, it was a tough time.
And at that time, it was not easy to take a stand like that.
No, it was tough. It was tough being out there.
Yeah.
Riots going on, and it was tough.
He really taught you a lot, didn't he?
Oh, he was an amazing man. I felt like, and still do. Felt like he was great then. If I tried to copy anybody in what I did, it would have been him. Because he was such a good man, and he was one of the first people to start the community type policing and getting the community involved.
And that's something that you did when you came to Wythe County in 1980, when you met my beautiful mother, and that's how I came to be here and have my home here. Um, and sort of when you came to Wythe County, you and Wayne Pike kind of had to work the department from the ground up, and I guess that community policing that you learned from him, that's still going on today, and I guess that the people in charge today learned that from you. I know that's what Sheriff Foster says.
It has been learned, hopefully, embedded and throughout the country now. It's people understand that you got to do it. So it's.
Sure, but I think it's especially important in small towns like Wytheville because.
Well, no doubt, no question.
We are.
And Pulaski and Vinton, where I was, mm-hmm. It's very important to small towns. You're right.
So I guess for the time that you were in Wythe County, probably the biggest, or your tenure there as chief deputy, probably the biggest thing you did was the FBI Academy. Is that right?
Well, that's kind of a highlight of any officer's career that can attend the FBI Academy. It's a 12-week program for police executives, and you're in there with people from every state and 11 foreign countries. So yeah, it's quite an experience, and you build relationships throughout the world mm-hmm. that you can call on and have it as a resource and run things by them. It's just absolutely helped me through the rest of my career.
Do you have anybody left that you still talk to from the academy?
I haven't talked to anybody, and that's been many years. It's 1983, so it's been a while. I did up until a few years ago hear from one or two, and we'd talk back and forth. But most of them, like me, most of them are now retired and gone on to different things. So, like anywhere, when you leave, you say you'll stay together and get together, but you never do. But I always had somebody I knew while they were working, while I was working, that I knew I could call and get information that I needed, or just suggestions or advice. But it was a great experience.
And then when you left Wythe County, you went to Pulaski as chief for 6 years, and then you went to Vinton as chief for 11 years, and you were only supposed to stay 5 or 6 years, but you liked that so well, you ended up staying 11.
I did. Vinton was such a nice little town, and I got there and built the department, went through accreditation, got the department accredited, and just had such great people to work for and work with. It was just one of the best situations. It was hard to leave, so I did stay on a while, sure did.
And one of the first in the state to be accredited at that time, if I remember correctly.
At that time, one of the first to do a state accreditation.
And you were working on it with Pulaski, but it didn't quite get there before the opportunity for Vinton came up.
Right, we were working on it, but it didn't transpire, but we did do it in Vinton.
Yep. So then I'll take you away a little bit from talking about your career, because if people want to know about your career, they can buy the book I spent 2 years writing.
That's right.
And completely surprised you with on the 50th anniversary of your becoming a police officer.
Yes, you did.
And that was the proudest. That is the proudest achievement of my career as a writer.
Well, it's a pretty proud moment for me as well.
Being able to do that and interview 24 people right under your nose, and you didn't have a clue about it.
Did not have a clue, for sure.
And so I'm just glad it worked out as well as it did, because we have quotes and testaments and accounts from a lot of people who are no longer with us, and it's important that they're there, and I'm glad their voices were heard too.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I really appreciate it now more than ever.
Yeah, it's an important. All of it was an important documentation that needed to be done, and I'm glad I'm tickled to be the one to do it. But
absolutely, you did it.
Lots of grandchildren. What is it? 7 grandchildren.
I think that's true. Yeah.
7 grandchildren and 6 great grandchildren. You have grandchildren older than me.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. But it says you have your older boys, Travis and John, and then there's my sister, who's the girl and the baby of the family, and who is her daddy's heart. She's in Charleston with her new husband, Lewis. And then you have the grandpuppies, Sophie and Tucker, who love their pop.
Yeah, well, they're special.
Who love their pop very much. But what would you say have been the most enjoyable times of your life? I know we talked earlier about Disney World. That was a big one for all of us. But what would you say?
Probably the most fun times was when we were going on vacation, whether we're going to the beach or to Disney World, and just seeing you guys just so happy and doing what you were doing, and and just enjoying yourself so much. I mean, that's probably as enjoyable as it gets to see you guys at the beach, at Disney World. That and certainly our holidays together, just great.
Yeah, the Christmas Eve steaks were hard to beat. I was saying that, in the article that you were the master of the steaks. Nobody could do a steak like you, and you would get out there and grill steaks on Christmas Eve, and that would be A Christmas Carol's our favorite story, so we always said that was our Christmas goose. And those.
Well, I've learned that the good steak comes from good meat, and we always had our meat cut out at Ryder's Grocery. Shorty cut it out there.
Oh.
You can't cook good steak if you don't have a good steak, and he always cut a real good piece of meat. That's
very interesting. Shorty of Ryder's Grocery.
And then I took credit for the good steak, but a lot of it was the good steak I got from Shorty.
Well, and it's very interesting that growing up you didn't have anything like that. You didn't have. Well, I guess you didn't have a lot of meat. It was beans and corn.
Well, we had it was just prepared differently.
Yeah.
We certainly had pork, ham, and a lot of pork meat. Occasionally had beef, but it was just prepared differently because I didn't know what a steak was until I was 17 years old, We had some beef, but it would be like my mother would put it up in cans, and it'd be canned,
Oh, okay.
It'd be like a stew beef, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
But not as a steak. And a hamburger was just a treat because you only got those maybe occasionally on a weekend.
Right, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But now her beans and cornbread would be a treat.
That'd be the biggest treat I could have.
Because you can get hamburgers are anywhere and everywhere now.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're not even as good as they were back then, I'm sure.
No, for sure not. Don't seem to be. Maybe they are, but in your memory, everything is always better. But
Christmas was always an embarrassment of riches. We always had an abundance of things. And Christmas Eves, I remember the big tree that Mommy always used to do, and we always had a wealth of presents, and still would all.
Your mother always took Christmas to the next level.
Yeah, she certainly did.
I can't say it wasn't a lot of fun, but it might have been a little overkill, but it was great.
Well, we enjoyed it to the hilt for sure. And Sil always put that Santa hat on, and she was the one to pass out the presents. And she has our mother's zeal for Christmas, because she goes overboard at Christmas time too. Always, she loves Christmas, and that's because of the wonderful Christmases that we had, and watching the movies and the Halloween tradition. She always loved Halloween, and we always seemed to be four people going in four different directions, but we would come together on Halloween to watch Hocus Pocus on that old video, on that old VCR player, even when it wouldn't hardly play anymore. And we'd all.
She still loves Halloween, just not as much fun as it used to be with the kids,
Yeah.
But she still loves it.
Well, Bella loves it, and I think that's a lot because of her grandmommy. Her grandmommy took her trick-or-treating almost every year as she was growing up, and always took care of her costumes. We had a Halloween costume wedding that we went to last week, and she provided us with the costumes for that.
Oh, I tickle her to do that, yeah. She was so happy about it.
Anytime you need anything like that, Grandmommy's the one to go to. And Bella will say, well, I need a costume. I'll call Grandmommy.
Yeah.
And Grandmommy takes care of it. And she's a wonderful Grandmommy. I wish you weren't so far away.
Well, me too, buddy.
That's what's hard, is not, as I said, I didn't appreciate or I took advantage of the fact that I got to see you all every day, day in and day out, and now maybe only see you once or twice a year, and that's difficult.
Yeah, well, we're just at this place now. I'm kind of at the mercy of my doctors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can't make any long moves.
Yeah. Well,
I'm pretty much stuck here, as she is, but But
you all wanted to retire and go to the beach, and 11 years ago, that's what you did, and I think you've enjoyed your time at the beach.
We have.
I've enjoyed our conversation, and I appreciate you talking to me. This will always mean a lot to me.
All right, buddy. Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Well, I love you very much. We all do. Hello, everybody. This is Zach Said again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and it is a very special honor for me to be here talking to my father. We're going to talk about a special award he received, and we're going to talk about a very special moment associated with that for him and the history of our family. Thank you, Pop, for being with me today. I'm glad to talk to you again on the show.
Oh, glad to be here, Jack. Glad to be here.
Well, we are here to talk about some very special things that happened this past weekend on March the 7th. You were honored, and a very well-deserved honor. Later on this year, you will have your name etched on the Civic Monument Wall of Honor, which is, in a sense, our town's highest honor, because it bears the names of some of our most distinguished citizens throughout the history of Wytheville and Wythe County, and your accomplishments, both civically and career-wise, are certainly well-deserved of that. But you will be added to the monument later this year, and you were honored in a ceremony at the Wytheville Meeting Center. You want to tell a little bit about how that made you feel? It must have been quite an experience for you.
Well, it was certainly a humbling and an humbling honor for me to be recognized like that. I had no idea, very unexpected, but certainly it's great. And to be on the wall with the people that are on that wall, I think is just certainly amazing to me, because it's some very special names on that wall. Like Jackie King, Linda DeOrio, Wayne Silver, people who have done so much in the town, and to be up there with them is just a great honor.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Jackie in particular, because the things that you were recognized for, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, the American Cancer Society Board of Directors, the chairman of the Transportation Safety Committee, some of those things came along with your work as Chief Deputy, which you were here as Chief Deputy for 15 years. That's how I came to be here and spend my whole life here. But a lot of those things, like the Rural Retreat Lake Authority and the Chamber of Commerce, a lot of that you got involved with because of Jackie. Jackie had you involved with just about everything there was.
I really did. She was such a spark plug on the chamber and had so many things going, and it was just a great person to work with, and it was an honor to work with her, and amazing, and really because of her, I got into so many of the things and important things in the county and town.
Is there anything of your civic achievements and career achievements in Wythe County particularly, because we know that your work and your achievements extend well beyond Wythe County, in High Point, North Carolina, where you were a police officer and worked in the Office of the Public Defender, and then in Pulaski and Vinton, where you served as Chief of Police. But specifically here in Wythe County, is there a particular thing that you did that you are proudest of?
Well, nothing. No one big thing jumps out right now. The Transportation Safety Committee, I was chairman of that most of the time I was in Wythe County, and we were able to do a lot of things traffic oriented. The county and Wayne Sutherland with the town was always very involved in that, and always was willing to help and do anything we could to improve traffic safety in the town. Matter of fact, we traveled just about every year to Richmond to meet the governor and receive the Traffic Safety Award. I think that happened 2 or 3 times. I met 2 or 3 or 4 governors because of the work there in the town and the county on traffic safety.
So you actually received state awards, or that committee received state awards?
The county and town and the Transportation Safety Commission received, not me myself, but
right. But
you accepted to us, yeah.
You accepted that on behalf of the committee.
Yes.
And well, that's quite an honor, and goes to show some of the things that you are responsible for in Wythe County, and again, why you deserve to be there, and some things that were not included. Let me just run through some of the things that were included. Serving on the Rural Retreat Lake Authority, Local Emergency Planning Committee, American Cancer Society Board of Directors, Chairman of the Transportation Safety Committee, President of the Whitfield-Whitland Chamber of Commerce, member of the Virginia Farm Bureau, Ivanhoe Civic League, Whitfield Masonic Lodge number 82, and American Legion post number 229. What was not mentioned that I knew about, thanks to my mother's help in some of this, but I have all this backed up in the book that I wrote for you. It's all in there somewhere, I promise. You were an adjunct professor of police science at Whitfield Community College. You organized adult softball teams, both men and women, in Whitfield and Wythe County, and was also a committee chair for the Chautauqua Festival, which is still put on every year by the Wythe Arts Council. So,
yeah, that was kind of fun stuff. The Chautauqua Festival Arts Council and the And the softball, that was just fun. It's great. Had men's and women's team in the Wilford Rec League, and we did very well, and I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, I can remember that.
And with the Wiffle Community College as adjunct professor, I got to work with a lot of the youth that I wouldn't ordinarily have seen in the county and town. It was just great to be able to interact with the youth.
How many years did you do that?
I'm not sure. 3, 4. It's been a while, been a long time. Doc Weeks took a little sabbatical while I was there, and I kind of he was working on his master's, and I went and filled in for him there for 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure.
And Doc was still there years later teaching police science when I was a student at Whitfield Community College, which is now almost 20 years ago that I've been graduated from there. But
my goodness, yeah.
But I remember being very young when you had to do a lot of. You were gone late at night. You had to do a lot of night classes. I was about 60.
Yeah, we did a few classes in our extension location in Galax.
Mm-hmm.
Did several classes over there.
Yeah, and I remember riding in the back seat of your Blazer that was your chief deputy car that you rode in to several ribbon cuttings at the Chamber of Commerce. I especially remember you and Jackie putting on the 4th of July celebrations at Rural Retreat Lake every year, and you did those year after year, and everybody came to the Wythe County Fairgrounds.
For sure, that was Jackie was really the spark plug behind that, and I was just there to help.
Well, I'll say one thing about Jackie. In addition to being the driving force behind the community for decades and decades, Jackie was also a wonderful personal friend. I can remember I just took Bella, my daughter, your granddaughter, to see Disney on Ice, and got to experience that with her, and that was really nice. But I remember when I went, I was 4 years old, and it was just you and me and Mom, and I wanted to see Mickey Mouse, and I never dreamed I'd get to Florida. So when they came to Salem, Jackie bought 3 tickets so I'd be down front, and
yes, I remember that.
And she just did things like that. If it was something that somebody wanted, you never had to ask. It was something we never expected. She just would say, well, here, if this is what you want to do, here, go do it, have a good time. And she would do that for you. And I remember just before she died, I said, Jackie, I go out walking and I get up on the sidewalk and there's no place to get off. I have to get out in the road to go if I want to go up the street. So she and Trent Crew took the initiative to level off all the sidewalks in town, all the way up from my house between 4th and Lexington, all the way up to Spring Street, to be sure that they were level, so that I could. She made that happen, and that was one of the last initiatives she did as vice mayor before she died. So
that sounds like Jackie.
She was still in office when she died. She was not going to quit until she finished her term, even though she was very sick. She was going to finish it. Miss Jackie very much. And another person that was right by your side through most of these achievements is our wonderful mutual friend and another honorary aunt of mine, and that's Teenie Underwood.
Oh yeah, Teenie was certainly a very hard worker and was always out helping and not like Jackie, just a good person to work with.
Out in the middle of everything. Never heard Teenie say an unkind word about anyone. And a lot of times when you're in the field that you're in, politics can be very ugly, and there can be backbiting and all kinds of things and lots of gossipy things. But that was never Teenie. Teenie, if she didn't have anything nice to say, she kept quiet.
She was a great friend,
and still is a wonderful human being. But I have to say that I was not aware of your achievements even here in Wythe County. Even I was growing up as you were doing a lot of these things. I was not aware of all that you had done until I wrote and published the book of your career in 2016.
Well, you did a lot of research on that, and I think that's pretty typical. Kids don't really know, or probably don't even care what their parents are doing, at the time, until you get older and think back.
Well, when I went to your retirement party in 2011 from Vinton, and at that time they had it fixed, and this was not your idea, but they had it fixed that everybody that came had to pay $38 to be there to have the meal. And even so, 100 people came and 14 speakers came to honor you from all over, from 2 or 3 states. And when I heard all of what they said, I said, I'm going to research this myself, because this is very book worthy. And of all the things that I've published, that's what I'm proudest of. Because
I appreciate that book. I'm kind of proud of that myself, that you would take the time, and it was certainly an honor to me to have a book about me. I have some copies that I keep, and copies for all my grandchildren.
Now all your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your great-great-grandchildren. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I want to just mention the reason that I think that you're still very worthy is because there are the things that you did with the Transportation Safety Committee, the traffic ordinances, the seatbelt ordinances, and these kinds of things, getting the DARE program initiated into the schools. These are things that are still going on in the school today. And your granddaughter, as you know, is going through the school system right now, and has made all of her almost 10 years here in Whiteville. And the things that you have initiated are still keeping her safe at home and on the streets. So that's another reason why.
I played a small part in all that, but I'm glad to have played that part. It took a lot. It took the town leaders and a lot of people to get all that done. But I'm proud to have played whatever part I was able to.
Well, we're very proud, and every time that we have a walk, and the 3 of us, my wife Emily and daughter Bella and I and Sophie, our dog, every time we have a walk and we go by the courthouse, I say, I can remember going to work. I tell Bella, I say, I went to work with your pop many days in that courthouse when he was chief deputy. And you're a part of why we can take that walk. And the streets can be safe. And a man worked under you that is now the sheriff and a fine gentleman, Mr. Charlie Big Bird Foster, who is continuing to do a great job to keep Wythe County safe. And he has told me many times that he has looked up to you as a mentor and a friend. So.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. And that Charlie, he was a young man playing basketball at the high school, and he was on the team, and came up and I said, "How you doing, sir?" And shook my hand. And I thought, what a fine young man. He would make a good deputy someday.
Yep, and he
sure enough, he did, and he's a fine sheriff.
He sure did, and he has ran twice now, unopposed, because Wythe County is obviously in full agreement that he is the one to lead our sheriff's department. I wanted to mention too, I mentioned going to work with you. Many days in a row I went to work with you at the sheriff's department. And there's not many places that you can take your kid to work every day. But back then, and I'm sure it still is, maybe not to the degree it was back then, but if it's a safe enough place that you can take your kid to work and have him just sit and play while you're doing your job or whatever, that's pretty extraordinary. But it was always a big deal for me to go to work with you.
And that was mostly a Saturday thing we did.
Mostly on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was wonderful because everybody there, Teeny at the helm of it, of course, but everybody there spoiled me rotten, and I felt kind of like the mascot. But there were a lot of us kids coming up at that time. Keith Dunnigan, who was the sheriff, his daughter Tabitha, the late Patty Collins, who was your secretary for years, her daughter Brittany. All of us were coming up at that time, and they all, it really felt like a family, all of us.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
Yeah, and that was a special time. But just we're very proud of all that you had achieved, and like I said, I remember those 4th of July gatherings at the Wythe County Fairgrounds, and that's pretty sad because there's not a lot that goes on at the fairgrounds anymore. Everything's kind of moved to the town, but we've taken Bella to a couple of circuses that come out there, but I'd kind of like to see more activity because I remember everybody in the county came to those. Everybody in Wythe County was there. And then, we had the fireworks and the games for the kids, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yes, it was. It was very enjoyable.
So, when we're talking about local emergency planning committee, when you came to the sheriff's office, there was not a lot of ways, like Teeny said, I don't even think I knew how to get in touch with the police until your dad and Wayne came along. Did that involve some of the dispatching programs and things like that? What was the local emergency planning committee?
Well, it just kind of came along with the times. I mean, we were in a time where things were changing and things were progressing and moving forward, and we were just able to progress and with new technology and get things better than they were. But there's also the times that were changing. Computers. We got the first computer ever in the department. And then Mr. Branson, the town manager, then came down. He came down. He and I would sit and work and try to figure out programs. But it was just a change of the time. The technology was changing so much as far as emergency services.
Yeah. And I should note that at that time we did not have 911. That didn't come until later, correct?
We didn't have the 911 center. No.
Right. That came, I believe, in the 90s sometime.
Yeah, I think so.
now we can talk about, as you said, the real honor of the evening for you, which was having 5 generations of family and a good number of family and friends, even if we didn't expect turn out to see you. There were, I counted them all up. There were, besides you, there were 25 people that came.
Yeah, I thought that was just great that everybody took time, and your sister drove up from Charlottesville, and your sister-in-law drove in from Raleigh, and I was just amazed. My cousins drove up from Tennessee and
Blacksburg,
and Blacksburg. So,
well,
that was very humbling, and the biggest honor of the night for me was the 25 people that were there.
Yeah, not very often. I don't know if ever that we've all come under the same roof like that. Yeah.
Maybe a first for me.
When I was growing up in my home that I grew up in, it was me and you and Mom and my sister, and we were under the same roof every day for years and years. And then for years and years, we were never under the same roof. And I think this is the first time that we were all 4 under the same roof with our spouses and with Bella in about 4 years.
Probably so.
I think we came to the beach during COVID, and I think my sister Tara was there, and Lewis, her and Lewis were not even married at that point, and so this would be the first time that we were there with our spouses and with Bella, our daughter. So.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah.
And 5 generations, boy, that's something that's something that rarely happens ever.
Rarely happens. I was just reading this morning where the family was 6 generations, but the grandmother was well over 100, and
right.
Fortunately, we were all I won't say fortunately, but we were all young parents at age.
Right, and it was very fortunate that all 4 generations were around 20, 21 years old, because as we were talking about a couple days ago when I was assembling the article about the 5 generations, as hopefully my readers will enjoy. To put in perspective, your great-grandfather was born in 1822, a full 120 years before you were born.
Yeah, so that's my great-great, so that's, like you said, it's a rare occasion.
Yeah, so
a lot of distance.
That puts in perspective how rare that is, and special.
Yeah, I only saw 2 of my great-grandparents, so.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to have a photograph of 5 generations with my great-grandmother, who is my mother. You took the picture. It's my great-grandmother, my Granny Rose, who her last photograph was with her great-great-granddaughter, who's Bella, and I treasure that to this day.
Absolutely.
And I'll take my part for pulling this one together, because I helped get everybody assembled for.
Well, you did it. I mean, I just have to say you did it.
So
my friend said you should be working for some politician, getting all the people together, because you knew how to do it so well.
Well,
you were so good at it.
Well, if somebody offers me the job, we'll see how big the check is and go from there. But Sperlin always said I should run for mayor. Sperlin always said that.
Yeah.
And we should say that Sperlin is John Wayne Sperlin, who is your oldest and lifelong best friend, and he who is not in the best of health. He made the effort to travel up here with your son Travis.
He did. I was amazed. He don't usually get out that much, and I was impressed that he put it together and kind of made the trip.
Well, when Dina Kelly called me, and I have to say I really have to publicly thank Dina and Rosalie Jude and Holly Atkins and all the people who put together. It was a very, very nice ceremony.
Right. They did an amazing job. I was very impressed.
It was a very, very nice, very moving ceremony, and have to really thank them for doing that and finally putting you through. I think it's long overdue, but I'm delighted that it happened when it did, because you probably thought all your efforts had been forgotten about in Wythe County. You've been gone from Wythe County for more than 30 years. So,
yeah, I thought probably the only people remember me, but maybe a few criminals that were doing a long sentence. But
right.
It certainly was great too.
And when you received the letter, it was a notice from the town of Wytheville, and you thought you must have owed some back taxes or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I said, oh my goodness, you got some back taxes or something over there. And I opened the letter, and it was just a great surprise.
But in wrangling together all these people, I wanted Sperlin to be there because he was your lifelong best friend, and he deserved to be there. And of course, your brother Doug, who followed in your footsteps and ended up with a very successful law enforcement career of his own, and he says that you've always been his hero, and he chose that because he saw you come in, and he saw you come in your motorcycle boots and uniform, and he said, that's what I want to do, and that's pretty much what he's done. And he still
he did a great job on his own. He was an excellent officer, an excellent trainer, as his director of the police academy, and he did a great job on his own.
And he succeeded you as chief deputy when you left in 1994 to be chief in Pulaski. I should mention that.
Yes, he did.
And had nothing to do with nepotism. It had to do with that he was the man for the job. So.
That's correct.
So we're very proud of Doug, and he is still the school resource officer at Spiller, where my daughter Bella has one more year, and they've clicked and had a great relationship ever since Bella was born. He's always been her Uncle Bug, and his grandchildren are now there at Spiller. So that's great that he gets to do that. So I wanted them to be there, but most importantly, I wanted to be sure that we could get this 5-generation thing happening. So I got a hold of Travis, and I got a hold of Josh, and they said, count me in, we'll be there for sure. And then Alex said, I don't know, we're having some issues with our car, but I'm going to do my best to get there and bring the baby. And when I was a little nervous whether it was all going to come out, because it's getting down to the wire, and we still had 2 that was missing. And right at the end, they all came in, and I looked at my mother, and I went, because there they all were.
It was amazing. You did an amazing job pulling that all together.
Well, I'm just thrilled that it came off like it did, and it was particularly special seeing you with Emery. I mean, she just reminded me a lot of Bella, just the sweetest, just had the sweetest disposition as a baby.
She really did, didn't she? Yes, she did.
So many people around her that she'd never seen before. And she was just smiling at all of them, but especially when she got to you. She just kept looking at you and grabbed a hold of your finger. And it's a very sweet quote, what Alex said. Alex said, I've been waiting for that picture all my life. I've always thought about how much it meant to me to have my own baby girl, but when Emery locked eyes on her great-grandfather, I could barely hold back my tears, seeing how fast she took to being Papa's little angel. And
she was sweet. Emery was sweet.
Yeah, Emery Gray. And I should mention that Gray is a family name that started with you. Herbert Gray Cooley. It started with you. I have your name. All three of your boys have your name. But it's
I have seven in the group, a niece and grandchildren and children.
Mm-hmm.
Now great grandchildren.
Yep. But all 5 generations from you on down to Emery have the Gray name. It's just Emery spells hers Grey, a little bit more feminine for her. And I think they call her Emmy, don't they?
I think they do, yes.
I think we call her Emmy, yeah. So, but she was just very, very pretty, and it looked like she knew that this is who she's here to see when she looked at you, and she just looked at you like she knew that, you know.
Yeah, she was like she knew me. We'd
known each other always, and it was just precious. And I just thought she was just wonderful. And I had a chance to talk to Alex and his girlfriend Lexi, and they're a very sweet and beautiful family. And he is absolutely devoted to being her dad, and it was very beautiful to see. It reminded me of the days when I became a new dad, which seems like that was yesterday. And I said, just enjoy it and eat her up while you can, because when they're big enough to run from you, you have to make them hug you. And because I'm at that stage now where Bella, I'm at a hug today, you better come give me one. And but I mean, Bella, from day one, you came to take care of Bella, and she knew your footsteps when you would come into the room. And you and her don't see each other often enough, but you all have a special bond too, and that's
we sure do.
That's one of the most important things in the world to me, is that even though we don't see each other much, that we have that special bond. Obviously, you have many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, but my mother, her grandmommy, only has the one grandchild, so her and grandmommy have a special bond.
They're pretty close, they sure are.
They're a lot alike, I'll tell you that. But I mean, in a way to honor you, I couldn't think of a better. It couldn't have come off. You know, so many plans that you make for yourself. If you plan something and you really want it to go well, so very seldom does it go that well. And it went off better than I anticipated that it would.
Perfect.
Yeah.
To get to see my great granddaughter for the first time in that setting was great. Just great.
Yeah, and she is very beautiful, and we're all very proud of her and the family that they have. And I want to just share one more quote with you, and it might be over here in this other article, but it was something that your cousin Jane said, who is also a wonderful writer. She is a poet, which I'm not, and was worked in the professional arts building at Virginia Tech for years, put on a free summer festival every year for 40 years at Virginia Tech. She said, Herbie was my hero when I was little until I was older. He is still my hero now that I'm younger, and I'm so proud to be here celebrating his many accomplishments tonight. I found out many things that I did not know, and I am so proud to be here to celebrate him. So that's what Jane had to say.
And Jane was sweet. They were, her and her sisters were the closest thing I had to sisters, and it was just great she could be there.
And they all looked up to you. And yeah, and I was going to mention all the people that were there, so that nobody is left out. We had, of course, my mother Rhonda, who in August you and her will celebrate 40 years.
Yes, we will.
My sister and her husband from Charleston, South Carolina. I think they traveled the farthest, and they were here the shortest amount of time. My brother Travis, your best friend John Wayne Sperlin, and then your grandchildren, Josh, his wife Crystal, and their three children, Alex, Aiden, and Olivia. And then you had two other grandchildren, Jacob and Jaden, and Jacob's son Landon, who is your great-grandson. And then you had Emery, your great-great-granddaughter, which we all fell in love with. Is that everybody? Did I miss some people? You had some friends that were there, lifelong friends, Debbie and Dixie King and Jamie Jackson. My Aunt Pam, your sister-in-law, and her fiance Ralph, they came from Raleigh.
Yeah, right. You absolutely mentioned that.
That was a surprise too. That was a surprise too. I didn't know if they would make the trip from that far. Jane and Diane. Diane came from Johnson City, Tennessee. Jane came from Blacksburg.
Yes.
But it was one heck of a crew.
It really was.
And I don't think that we would never get all that many people under the same roof as it had been anybody else. So you have to know that you are greatly loved and appreciated.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the whole group that was there very much.
Well, I'm sure that you felt the love that night. If not at the ceremony, you certainly felt it at Peking, because we had a really nice gathering afterwards.
Yeah, it was really good. And I sure did feel the love.
But anyway, you certainly deserved it. It was a great time. It was a time I did not expect. I didn't know if we would. I didn't know if you'd be returning to Withville, honestly, again. But it's always, I don't get to see you enough myself, because I'm not any more able to get to Merle's Inlet than you are to get to Withville. So so anytime that I get to see you in person, I take it as a great blessing. And I remember,
well, it was so nice. I enjoyed hanging out.
Yeah, we had a nice. You got to stay at the historic Bowling Wilson Hotel, where my great-grandparents on my mother's side spent their wedding night, Easter Sunday, 1944. You got to stay there and enjoy that hotel, and Emily and I got to spend some time with you while Bella and Grandmommy went swimming with Aunt Pam, and we got
that's very nice.
We got to catch up on a lot of things. That's probably the highlight of the entire weekend. But, grateful for all the time we get to spend together, but this past weekend was
was extra special.
It was great. Thanks, man, to you, Zach.
Well, you are deeply loved and deeply appreciated, and I'm glad that you could know that by all the people that turned out. It was not only a momentous part of your life, it was for me too. Just to be there and be a part of it was something we'll never forget, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I love you very much. Thank you for talking with me. And
thank you, Zach. I love you too, buddy.
And hope to have you on again.
All right, then.
Okay.
Here we go. All right.
Love you, Pop.
Love you, buddy.